We are raring and ready to go because there's regular season baseball. This is the shutdown inning, and it is episode 44. Welcome in, Steven Rissotto here, along with Tylor Hall, as always. Tyler, what's going
S-
on? We got baseball.
Steven Rissotto, happy first weekend of the season behind us. We have actual baseball to talk about, which is always a good thing. And it's nice. I got to relax and watch some baseball this weekend when I had the time, and can't complain over here. How about you?
Same thing, can't complain. It's the best thing ever when, we talk a lot about fantasy baseball on the show and the number of leagues that we're in, and you're in a few, I'm in too many. And it's always good when you have like, you wake up and you look at the full slate of games on the schedule and just knowing that there's games on all the time, right? There's games to check in on.
Yeah.
There's some good matchups in opening week. There's some good games in opening week. I think we had a walk off the first day in Texas. So like a lot going on. And it's good to have baseball back.
Yeah, for sure. So opening day, I know you were on spring break last week. Did you just like camp out in front of the TV and watch baseball all day? What was your strategy on opening day?
Yeah, so on opening day, I did do a little bit of that on that Thursday. It is kind of a
Yeah,
holiday. I
it's
did
nice because you have games here on the West Coast. We get games from like 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. almost.
It was perfect. And this spring I watched a lot of Cubs, and the Cubs are just on MLB Network all the time, especially in spring training. So I found myself checking in on those games, checking in on the Mets, and of course Giants Padres was the big one that I was hooked on all three games, a little less of the blowout game, in the final game of the series, but first three games I was completely hooked from start to finish. So anytime you could get that kind of feeling, it makes you feel like baseball's back. So, what
Yeah,
about
for
you?
sure.
Where were you locked in on?
Well, I am a professional, Steven, so I had to work. But
A job? What's a job?
yeah, yeah. Most of my colleagues know I'm a huge baseball fan. So, I worked basically up until first pitch of the Giants game when I had the ability to. I had, the MLB package up on my phone, thanks T-Mobile. So I could keep an eye on some of the early games. And then even though it wasn't the result we wanted as Giants fans, I watched the whole, Giants game, and it was just nice to, it was a nice day out too, so it was nice to have the window open in the office, just watching some Giants baseball.
Yeah, and then there's rain that threatened in San Diego, and it's like rain in San Diego. What's going on?
Yeah, I
But
know a lot of people
luckily,
are like, do they even have a tarp at Petco?
yeah. Like, what's the ability of those grounds crew people there?
And
Like, do
yeah, and there was even a rain delay in Los Angeles too at one point this weekend in the Cardinals Dodgers series, which you don't see too often.
have those people even like ever rolled out a tarp? Like, I don't know. It's kind of we have to have
They
a
probably
grounds crew person on this
Yeah,
podcast.
for sure. They probably practice it like in San Diego and LA, they probably practice it like once a year just to say they did it and then don't plan on ever using it. But they actually both had to this weekend or this opening series.
Do you think people like grow up wanting to be a grounds crew member? Like the head of a grounds crew for each team, like what do you think they tried to go into first? Because I always wonder that, like landscaping, and then they ended up like in professional baseball. I don't know, but we got to get one on the show.
I'm sure the head guys, I'm sure the head guys went to school for it, I've worked and been around the golf industry a bit, and like the head of golf maintenance, they go to like college for agronomy, and they have to know how certain chemicals or fertilizers work and how the grass will grow and how to care for it properly. So those head guys, they probably go to school for it for sure,
Mhm.
and the rest, I don't know. We'll find out on a future shutdown inning.
Yes, we got to get one on, no doubt about it. Maybe at Oracle, I'll track down just a random guy. Hey, 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 do you want to tell your journey? So, um, so yeah, no, some baseball stuff happening. Of course, with opening week. But before opening week, one of those days, I believe
Wasn't it like opening day eve? I think it was like the day before the
it
season
was it
started.
was Tuesday night, because I was actually at the Bay Bridge series, and it broke when I was in the press box. I saw the Jeff Passan tweet, that Jordan Montgomery, the free agent lefty, probably the biggest free agent still out there, signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks a 1 year, $25 million deal. There's a vesting option for 2025. So this could easily be a 2-year, $50 million deal, somewhere around that range. But I mean, the National League West, Tyler, it's pretty
Man.
stacked.
Yeah, and it was like right after all of our prediction shows, like we might need to go back and revise this. But yeah, that my first reaction was, "Holy cow, the NL West!" I mean, everyone except for Colorado basically went out and did quite a bit to improve their clubs this offseason. And the National League champions adding Jordan Montgomery to their rotation. They'll have Eduardo Rodriguez back in the next couple of weeks, I believe they hope. So it's going to be a tight race. They're probably all four happy that they, with the new balanced schedule, that they don't have to just beat each other up for 18 to 20 games a year each.
Yeah, probably not the deal Montgomery wanted. But at the same time, like I didn't think he was ever going to get the $200 million or the 160, 170, 180 that maybe he sought out to get. Just because like before this second half run last year, he was a mid rotation guy that the Yankees had traded for Harrison Bader, you know? So I mean
Yeah.
he was not really a giant difference maker, and he cashed in, had a good second half with Texas, had a great postseason, kept them in a lot of games. And here he is getting $25 million out of it. And the vesting option, by the way, what was it again, Tyler?
It's $20 million vest if he makes 10 starts. And then it was a 2.5 million escalator for 18 starts and 23 starts. So that's how it could potentially get to a $50 million deal. But if he stays healthy, he might need another week or two to make a start, but that should vest in, June at some point to lock him in for next year, at least at a minimum of 20 million.
I mean, 10 starts. We were talking a little bit about this before we started getting recording, but 10 starts for a vesting option is pretty. I don't want to say easy to get. He's still got to be healthy, but I mean, you would think that he would get that.
A
But
lot would have to go wrong for him to not be in a Diamondbacks uniform next year now.
yeah. Now, what if the Diamondbacks sit there and say, like, you're not ready yet. You're not
We're
ready
using
yet.
it, start using an opener for him.
Yeah. He's, it's like May 30th and he's still making like starts in the complex in Arizona. It's like, what are we
Yeah.
doing? That no, that's pretty funny. But yeah, no, NOS is stacked. There's so many arms, and I think some of us, and we did a prediction show, Tyler and I, with the Giants chatter people, and that's now on the Say Hey podcast. You could check that out. Quick plug. And some of us like had Arizona and San Francisco above San Diego, and that makes sense. And I think any of the three behind the Dodgers, I think you could kind of place wherever and be fine with it. But I wouldn't even write off the Padres. Like we've talked about the Giants move, we talked about Arizona's moves. Padres added Cease and they shed payroll, but like they still got guys. After this weekend, I
Yeah.
think I'm understanding that a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going to be a fun summer watching this
Yeah.
all shake out. I still think was it Eric on Giants Chatter said that all three of those teams will be the wild card teams in the National League. Wouldn't be the craziest thing. I think Philly still gets in there, but I think the other three, with just all the other two of the three, are going to be some combination of Padres, Giants, Diamondbacks for sure now.
Yeah. And the American League East is really good, but I mean the West and the NL, I think, and I'm going to include the Rockies for one reason. It's because they've historically played decent at Coors, and it's
Hmm.
Coors. Nobody wants to go in there. So even if you think, oh, it's slam dunk, we're going to Colorado to play the Rockies, you're also going to Colorado to play at Coors Field, right? And if you have a tough series, after Coors Field, you better hope and pray that your pitching is survived, has survived. So it's not an easy place to
Yeah.
play. Not an, especially at the back end of a road trip. Never. So, um,
Yeah.
tough division, tough division, and Montgomery
Yeah.
makes it better.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of how tough it is, the Dodgers, they didn't add anybody, but they extended their catcher Will Smith to a 10-year, $140 million deal. No opt-outs included and lots of deferred money. We looked into it right before we hopped on, Stephen. I think what did I say it was like 50 million deferred between 2034 to 2043. So nearly a third of that contract deferred, or over a third of that contract deferred to the 10 years after it.
They've
But
done it again.
yeah, they've done it again. It's almost like a joke It was a joke, oh, deferred money, but they did it again, and it seems like they found some kind of loophole over how they think they can make this work. I guess they assume they're going to make enough money up front to kind of help pay all these guys, 10, 12 years after they're done playing for the Dodgers. But I mean, Will Smith, he probably won't be a catcher for that whole time because that would be a long time for anybody to be a catcher. But the dude can hit, he can play. I think he's hitting in the middle of that lineup. Isn't he hitting third or fourth for the Dodgers every night right now?
Yeah, something
So,
like that. Yep. Behind that
so
big three. And
yeah.
like and I think I read that this is the third biggest contract for a catcher in baseball history. I think the first one is Joe Mauer. I think he got 184. I forget how many years. And then Buster got 168 or 167, an
Hmm.
extension there. And Will Smith is at 140. And he's, I think it's cool to be a one team guy. And this is a good deal for Will Smith. Because he's kind of the unsung hero of that group. We talked so much about the top three being murderers row with, you know, Otani Betts and Freeman. Sorry, Otani Betts and Freeman. And then Will Smith kind of being a guy there who could, sneak in that lineup and drive in runs, and he's going to have guys on base in front of him. And it's just a really good spot for him. And I think he mentioned something that was really important in his press conference where he said that hey, I'm not the player I am if I'm not on this team. And it's funny that he recognizes that. And I don't think that's just, regarding the talent around him, but it just goes to show how good the player development system is for the Dodgers and getting these guys ready for the big leagues. Because, you know, as much as they win, they still got guys coming up and there's still more to come, I'd imagine, in the coming years. And Will Smith is a product of that. And he's certainly been one of the most productive catchers in baseball, too. So, big deal for him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, I mean, the Dodgers have been like the perfect blend of developing their own and going and attracting free agents to
Hmm.
supplement those guys. And it just continues now. So again, I've said it before several times that I think it's the Dodgers division to lose for at least the next 5 or 6 years until some of these guys get a little further up there in age. They're going to be good for a long time.
Very long
Breaking
time.
breaking news.
Yeah, very good. Long time. And I guess the one silver lining is that like Betts, Otani, and Freeman, if I'm not mistaken, they're around the same age. I think Freeman's a little bit older in his early 30s, but I want to say Betts and Otani are around 29. Um,
Yeah. So Freeman's 34. He'll
Betts
turn
is
35 in
31.
September. And I think Otani is, yeah, right around there as well. He
So,
is 29. He'll turn 30 in July. Um, so
and I'm still one that believes that like 29, 30, 31, 32, 33 could still be prime. Like those are prime years as far as I'm concerned.
yeah.
And I know baseball's changed where a lot of 32, 33-year-olds aren't getting signed and I hate that. I think physically, you know, injury history is one thing if a guy has a lot of that, but if you have a clean bill of health and you're 32, 33, there's no reason you still can't perform. Especially with the way that these guys condition now. I'm so not for and not
Yeah.
a believer in that. I know statistically it shows otherwise, guys start to decline at that age, but you still get great production at that age. But they'll be good for a long time.
Well, yeah, you also a lot of those guys are looking for multi-year deals to carry them like close to 40. So they might be good for the first year or two if they sign at 32, 33, but are you going to give them the 5, 6, 7 year deal they want? And that's where I think some of the guys end up going
Yeah, because
unsigned. But
none of the players want to hit free agency again at 36, 37. Because then it's like then it's
yeah,
really hard to find a deal, and you want to be completely comfortable, um, you know, in understanding that if you sign a deal at that age, it's hopefully the last deal you ever sign, right? Um,
yeah.
but and I saw a thing where this is going off topic, but saw a thing where Bryce Harper like wanted to work out a contract extension with the Phillies and like play into his early 40s. Um, I had to look back into that, but the weird thing about it is not that he wanted to play into his early 40s, is that he wanted a contract extension. It feels like he just signed there. Like he's
Yeah, I mean,
still a
he's got
new
to have
Philly.
he probably has like at least 8 or 9 years left on that deal, right?
Oh man, that's crazy to think about. But yeah, no, I mean, guys sticking to a specific city like Will Smith and the Dodgers, like he's gonna go down as one of their best catchers of all time in franchise history. And you know, he's he's in it for the long haul there. And I think that's cool
Yeah.
when you get guys to commit like that.
Yeah. Really quick, counting this year, Harper has 8 years left under contract.
And he wants an extension.
He becomes a free agent after his age 38 season, which is the 2031 season. So
Oh
he
my God.
wants like 2032 through 2035 sewn up, I guess.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool too. I don't know if you saw during one of the Phillies games, Jason Kelsey threw out the first pitch along with another former Eagle. I'm blanking on the name, but Harper had Jason Kelsey sign his cleats for him
I saw that.
on the mound, and then he played in them. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if he'll keep those, or he could probably make a pretty penny auctioning them off for charity.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. Yeah. No, Harper is like I'm so glad that he's kind of adapted to Philly and has really like embraced that community. Like it's hard to go over and sign a big deal like that and, maybe not immediately be embraced, but they love him. He loves it there. And it's a good example of a success story in free agency. And he's made them
Yeah,
good. He was even there before they were like completely good, right? Um, he played under our friend Gabe Kapler, I think
yeah.
1 year they
Yeah.
overlapped.
And it was like one of those things too where we've talked about, for other teams like the Giants included, you get that first big fish to show that you can sign here and to attract other players that want to play with someone like a Bryce Harper. And, that's how a franchise can turn around and be competitive every year like the Phillies have been, since Harper's first or second year in Philly.
Mhm.
Um, but one of his former teammates, Rhys Hoskins, also got into a little trouble, or a little dust up this opening series with the New York Mets. So a familiar foe for him, even though he's with Milwaukee now. He obviously spent a lot of time battling the Mets in Philly. What did you think of this whole thing? For those who missed it, there was a ground ball to third. Hoskins was at first, slid maybe a little bit late, held contact with the bag, hit McNeil's leg. It could have gone bad. It didn't. McNeil just starts going off on him at second base. Like while Hoskins is on the ground, he's pointing at him and getting in his face. What do you think of this, Steven?
I'm gonna sound like a total grandpa here. But first of all, the Mets were awful. All
Oh,
weekend
yeah.
long, they sucked. They played so bad that the Mets looked awful. And that's just one thing I want to get out of the way. Second thing is Rhys Hoskins did not break the rule with his slide, right? And I think the one thing that middle infielders are taught, like with a lot of these new rules about sliding into a base, I think they are just under the assumption that nobody's going to go in hard anymore, right? That they
Yeah.
don't expect it. It's 2024. The shortstop and the second baseman are not thinking about a base runner coming in hard. Like that's just the reality of it. They're not thinking about it because baseball has implemented rules that have made it safer, and I think rightfully so. I'm a fan of the rules. I'm a fan of sliding straight into the bag, which is what Hoskins did. A little late, maybe, but he slid right into the bag, and his slide, by definition, was within the rules. Um,
They reviewed it and called it a legal slide.
yeah, they called it a legal slide, and it was within the rules. And was it hard? Yes, but there's nothing in the rule book saying you still can't go in hard. You can't go 5 feet to the left anymore, which was stupid to begin with, and you can't barrel into someone like, an NFL player. Like, there's certain things you can't do, but Hoskins didn't do that. Now I'm going to go to Jeff McNeil. He's got to chill. He has,
Yeah.
he's got to relax. And I get that, I saw videos that Hoskins has done this to him before, and John Boy did a breakdown, and McNeil was saying he's the dirtiest player I've ever played against. Jeff, Jeff, pipe down, chill, relax. He is going in hard. He's trying to break up the double play. He did. The ball got lost on the transfer. You are looking like an idiot, looking down
Well,
at him as he's on the ground. What, yelling at him. It's crazy.
Well, one thing that most people haven't pointed out is McNeil like screwed up the exchange before he even had contact with Hoskins. He like Hoskins went in hard to try to break it up. He actually didn't even have to because McNeil screwed up the transfer before that anyway.
Exactly.
But then yeah, even during the review, McNeil's like yelling at the dugout, and Hoskins is doing like the crybaby motion to McNeil. And then the next day they threw behind Hoskins' head. I saw a nice breakdown by
Yeah.
Trevor May. I think I sent it to you on the gram if you wanted
Yeah.
to
It
check
was
that
like
out
his
sometime,
fourth at
Steven.
bat of
But
the game, too. So like usually and you've watched baseball way longer than I have, and so you've probably seen this, but when guys throw at someone after a game like that, it's the first inning, right? His first at bat, you send like a message or something. Hoskins hit like a 3-run homer, hit a double, hit a single, and then they got him like in his fourth at bat. They threw behind him.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like, what are you doing? Your time to do that was like 2 hours ago. I think Ron Darling on the Mets broadcast said that. And the Mets just came out of this looking so bad. And I mentioned like McNeil yelling down at Hoskins, like, "What are you doing?" I haven't really thought of this like this, but sometimes I do. Like that was very redundant. But benches clearing in baseball is so much of like a non-issue. Like what I mean by that is Hoskins is or McNeil's yelling, but if you really want to do something, do something. Like you could have kicked him when he's on the ground. Like do something instead of yelling
do,
from
do
second
the do
base.
the Jose Ramirez Tim Anderson. Like if you're gonna
Yes.
yell at each other, like go for it.
I don't need you like going over to the side and then like 10 seconds go by and now you're being held back. Like he was right there for you for 15 seconds on the ground and you didn't do anything. And now all of a sudden you're trying to be held back. Hold me back. Hold me back. Get out of here. It
Yeah,
just looks,
and the reliever
yeah,
and the manager have been suspended since.
good,
Yeah, it was just
good.
Mets baseball at its finest to open the season,
Yeah.
really.
What did
And
you
I was
think about the
watching. I
crying
was
facing, the crying face from Hoskins?
I thought it was funny. I mean, it was basically what McNeil was doing. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, because even when when McNeil was yelling in Hoskins' face, Hoskins didn't really respond at all. He just kind of stood there at second and then was kind of like, "What are you doing?" And he's like just started to walk off the field, and McNeil just kept going and going, and finally, I think Hoskins was like, "Dude, like you're looking like a crybaby out here."
Yeah.
Um,
And the
so
again, the way for him not to look at like a crybaby, like again, he was yelling at him when he was do something. Okay. Instead of the bickering, instead of saying he's the dirtiest player I've, if you're that mad, you could have done something. You could have gone after him
yeah,
right then and there. And then made this whole benches clearing thing worthwhile instead of going off to the
yeah,
side and then being held back. I mean, that just, I think it's funny. It's amusing to me that baseball players, clear the benches and then they're yelling, they're yelling, they're yelling, and it's hold me back, and nothing's happening. It's like get him if you're that mad, you know.
yeah.
Otherwise, you do look like a
Yeah,
crybaby.
my favorite one who used to always yeah, it's just like Yasiel Puig was great at that. Just like the fake tough guy. Like I'm gonna wait till I've got like 20 people between me and whoever I'm yelling at, and then I'm gonna act real mad.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah,
granted, I should clarify that it's not good for baseball if he were to go after him. I'm not directly supporting violence, but at the same time, like, you know, if you have a problem with someone there in that position, and again, Hoskins did nothing wrong. Um, maybe he does have something against McNeil. Maybe there's a lot more to the story we don't know, but what he did was within reason, and that's all I need to know, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah. I mean, there's definitely some past from the Phillies days. Like I said, I was watching that Phillies Mets game or Phillies Brewers Mets game live, and they talked about some previous instances with Hoskins, and I think they had thrown at him at one point in the last couple of years, and Hoskins hit a home run after that and took a 50-second home run trot. So yeah, they're probably just not fans of each other. Probably glad they don't have to see each other as much. And yeah, hopefully McNeil can chill and the next time they can actually just play baseball.
They tried to hit him after he got like 3 hits in that game. That's insane. You should be suspended for like the month. Like,
And also it was like such a crappy attempt at hitting someone. You're like a major league pitcher. You should be able to hit someone in the backside if you want to hit someone. He threw it like 2 feet behind his head. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, he's like, oh, I tried to get the sinker in on him. No, you didn't. You tried to hit him in the shoulder. That went like
Yeah.
2 feet, 3 feet beyond him. I mean, that's funny. That's crazy. Um, but I'm glad that we spent some time on that. Needed to get that off
Yeah.
my chest. Do
Yeah,
something.
and then there were unfortunate, but it always seems to happen during the opening weekend is some players went down with injury. Justin Steele, All-Star for the Cubs last year, I believe. He's out for roughly a month with a hamstring. Um, that's going to be a blow to the Cubs rotation there. I wasn't watching that play, but I heard it was pretty noticeable when he got hurt that he needed to exit the game. Did
Yep.
you see that one live at all?
I didn't see it live, but I saw the video. Immediately grabbed the hamstring, and like Justin Steele was really good last year. And he was throwing well in that game too. I think it happened in the fifth inning, and he was working deep into that game. But last year there was talk about him possibly being a Cy Young contender. One of the things that he does is he doesn't give up home runs. It was it's been a big thing for the Cubs rotation, and he was pretty much one of their key pitchers. Um, and it's a guy that they're going to lose now for a month. Um, so that's disappointing to see. But yeah, it was noticeable. Went down right away, grabbed the hamstring. Not fun.
Yeah, and hamstrings in general are something you don't want to rush back, especially for, I think a lot of people kind of underestimate how important a pitcher's legs are to their performance. It's their base and how they drive. So they're probably going to take their time with him, and hopefully he can come back as quickly as possible, not re-aggravate anything because the Cubs need him to compete in that division.
Yeah, and hamstring is like
And
maybe
then
the
it just
only
seems,
injury. Hamstrings are like maybe the only injury that when it happens and when a guy has a hamstring injury, I look for it when they come back. It's one thing if a guy has Tommy John, he comes back, usually comes back good. But hamstring's like the only one where it's like, you know, how is he running towards that ball? Like that type of thing. And like
hmm
sometimes like I'm able, like, God, he's not running fast. So it's a lingering
yeah.
one for sure.
And it's one of those like fast twitch muscles too, where like someone lays down a bunt or a swinging bunt down the third baseline, and he's got to break the other way really quick. So,
Done for.
uh, next guy that got hurt, it just seems like this guy just can't catch a break, or maybe he just catches breaks, and that's all that happens for him because he ends up on the injured list so much. But Royce Lewis for the Twins, I think this one was on opening day, hit a home run in his first at bat. I think he might have been 2 for 2 at the point of his injury, but he has a quad injury now, and they're saying he's out for several months in Minnesota.
This one sucks. I am rooting for Royce Lewis, former number one overall pick by the Twins. California guy too. I believe he's a SoCal guy. Jay Sarah in SoCal. But he was bound for a really big year this year. I had him on a few fantasy teams. Had a sneaky good year last year in kind of a part-time role. Or not a part-time role, but didn't only played like 60 games. And then I think we all remember him just going off in the postseason and hitting really well in that series against the Blue Jays where he had like a multi-homer game or whatever it was. But it's there. It's there for him to put together a full year, and hopefully he's not out for long, but I think it's looking like maybe about a month, several months. The Twins said. So,
Yeah,
oof.
yeah. I guess that's what happens when you hang out with Byron Buxton too much. You just
Oh,
start to,
he's not even playing
uh,
the outfield anymore. That's like his best thing was, his defense, and he's a DH.
yeah,
Crazy.
yeah. So. And then Sean Murphy of the Atlanta Braves, one of their catchers, grade 1 oblique strain. They're saying it potentially could be a minimum stay. I know it probably end up being somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks, but he went down pretty much opening day, I believe, as well, if not maybe Friday. But good news for the Braves is they have Travis d'Arnaud to kind of help bridge the gap until he's healthy over there. I know a few people have thought maybe kind of, I don't think it's on the agenda. Let me check. Nope. A lot of people have thought the Braves might be a fit for a Joey Bart pickup for a few weeks while they wait to see how long Murphy's out. So, a lot of things, mostly from fantasy research, a lot of people said that this could be a big year for Murphy and off to a bump in the road out of the gates for Sean Murphy.
Yeah, and I like what you mentioned about d'Arnaud. I agree 100%. It's good that he's there, and I feel like with him there, and I heard the Joey Bart thing too. With him there, maybe it does make sense to bring in a guy like Joey Bart. Um, you know, if d'Arnaud wasn't there and it was just another young backup catcher, I don't think it would be a fit because I don't think Bart's a guy you bring in the first week of the season after not coming to camp with you and teach him a whole new staff when he's been overwhelmed in the big leagues before. Like that's not a good idea. Um, he's the guy that would need to go into a situation, maybe like the Braves one. Um, and maybe not even play every day, but just be on that roster and get some starts here and there. And um, Sean Murphy's there for a while, but it's also a spot that the Braves could, I don't want to say sacrifice, but they got good position players, great position players everywhere. And if you want to bring in a guy like Bart to catch, maybe he's the guy. But yeah,
Yeah.
Murphy's a big piece of that team, and they'll miss him.
Yeah. And really quick before we move on, since I brought him up, it's been kind of an ongoing debate amongst the admins and Giants chatter and Giants fans in general. Do you think anyone picks up Joey Bart?
Um, he doesn't have options. Like that's the only thing
Yeah.
is like nobody's gonna be able to send him down. And teams like that roster flexibility. So I think that's what hurts him. And I know our good friend Brooks Knudsen loves options. And I think it was him that said like he's gonna be in Sacramento next week. And I agree with him. There's not much flexibility there, especially when you're a catcher, right? With one position flexibility. He's not a guy who could play outfield or first base or, move around the diamond. He's a catcher and he's a young catcher without options. Not a good combination. So a young, unestablished catcher without options is not a good combination. So I think he'll be in Sacramento.
Yeah. I tend to lean that way too. I just wouldn't be surprised if there's some organization out there that's like former number two pick. He just needs a change of scenery. It wouldn't be probably a contender unless it's someone like the Braves who's like, we just need you for 2 weeks, man. But then also you look at, like you mentioned, he has to go on the 40 man. He doesn't have any options. So most teams already have three catchers on their 40 man. So you're going to use 10% of your 40 man roster on the catching position. In most places, that's going to be a no. So,
Yeah. And the A's are first dibs on the waiver wire, I think. They're number one in line for anybody that hits that waiver wire. And they would be the only team that would still be able to do the promotions, the BART promotions. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. What a missed opportunity there. There
oh,
was so much potential.
the
Uh,
marketing people just ripping their hairs out. Oh, they had a
yeah.
chance.
But yeah, so I think it's time to should we go to the three up, three down
Let's do
portion
it.
of the episode, my friend? All right,
Yes, do
let's
it.
start with the downs. So we like to end on a high note here at the shutdown inning. So,
that,
Steven,
that was me.
Steven, take it away.
That was me ending on a high note. Yes. So there's a few things that I want to discuss here for my downs. The first down that I have is there's a new rule about how fielders can't block the bag with any part of their leg or any part of their body. They got to leave it open. And this has not come up during the regular season, but there's a play at the end of spring training where a runner was thrown out by 10 feet at second base. And Francisco Lindor very subtly blocked the second base bag, apparently. And the runner was called safe, even though the throw beat him by a mile. Not the biggest fan of that rule. Maybe you shouldn't block. I think maybe it should be called um, very, only if it's, I hate to be the guy where it's like, you know, eh, you could break the law, but
I think the
don't do
umpire
it
needs to have a little
noticeably.
feel for it, right?
Yeah, have some feel. And I've been
Yeah.
I've tweeted this before, but
Go
like,
go 75 on the freeway, but don't go 80.
yeah, go 75 on the freeway, but like go with the flow of traffic, that type of thing. Or, you could drive with alcohol in your system, but just don't hit anything. That type of thing. But I don't I that's a horrible example. But
That was terrible.
I like the freeway one. Um, but common sense is a big thing. And I think as much as I want to see calls be called right and by the rule book, you have to have some leeway in some of these calls. And if a guy's out by 25 feet at second base and you're going to get on the shortstop for having his foot like an inch to the center of the bag that might have blocked, like that's a little much for me. Like that's
Yeah.
way too much. So,
Yeah, umpires just need a feel for the game and see if, kind of like we've talked about before replay, it's the spirit of the rule was, to catch just blown calls, not if the foot came off for half a second, while they slid into second.
it's a horrible one.
Um, but there was one play they used that made me think of that rule, and they talked about it was a Giants play. I forget who hit the ball, but it was the play where Lamont Wade Jr. dropped the ball in right field, and they ended up getting the guy trying to stretch it to third. And on the replay, Kruk and Kite mentioned that, back in the days when like Matt Chapman was in Oakland, he would block third base with his leg, and now he can't do that. He was basically just straddling the bag, waiting for the ball to come in to get the tag down. And so it's like, so, yeah, like on that play, if you're blocking the bag because it's a bang bang play, yeah, you can't block the bag. And Matt Chapman, no surprise that he's learned how to operate defensively within the new rules, and he handled that situation well. But yeah, I saw that play at the end of spring training. It was just a mess that they even would think to call that play. But
Yeah. It was like watching a
hopefully,
normal baseball play and then like it's like, oh, what did he do wrong? And then it's like, oh, we're watching this, but we're watching this in 2024. And it's like watching a normal
yeah,
baseball play from, 150, 160, whatever it is now, 170 years of baseball, and then watching it now and just like you can't do that anymore. Um and
yeah,
reviewable plays. There's also I'm gonna throw this in there real quick. There's that one play with the Rangers Cubs game where Miles Masterboni, friend of the show, uh fouled a ball, hit a foul tip that Jonah Heim was like, that's a foul ball. And then the umpires called it a wild pitch and a run came home to score. And for whatever damn reason, it's not a reviewable play. What is considered a reviewable play? What's not? That's the stupidest thing I've heard too. Just if someone asks for a review it. That's my take. If they want to waste their challenge on something stupid, do it. But
yeah.
yeah, I hate that. I hate that reviewable, non-reviewable, whatever. Um, but no, good points all around on the blocking thing. And I did see that it was Tatis got thrown out at third, trying to stretch a double into a triple, I think. And then Kipe said that he got a text from his brother Glenn, um, who gave that
That's what
anecdote.
it was. Yep.
Um, all right. The next one is if you were wondering if Jeff McNeil and Rhys Hoskins was the only dust up to happen this weekend, you are wrong because there is something that happened in Tampa Bay. Uh, the full situation is a little bit weird. The pitcher for the Rays, his name is Genesis Cabrera. He got into it, or sorry, with the Blue Jays, Genesis Cabrera. He got into it with a Ray who, hit a triple. I'm trying to. I watched the video one time, so this is gonna be a good example of me trying to remember it. But he was backing up third base on the play, and he ended up pushing the guy who got thrown out at third. The runner was going to third. He got thrown out. His name's Jose Cabarrio from the Rays, and and he was tagged out at third for the final out, and then Cabrera was backing up third, and then they exchanged words, and Cabrera pushed him, and he was ejected. He's now suspended 3 games, so no need to push anybody. Have words, that's fine, whatever. But like, there's no need to push someone. And it's funny, I'm
Yeah.
saying that after
When it wasn't,
yeah,
yeah, do something about it.
after advocating that Jeff McNeil, just go hit him. And now it's me saying there's no room to push him. But everybody was fined apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a high push too. It was like a push into like the throat face area. But it was also just like the play itself, if you go back and watch it, he was at first he was backing up third in a normal, 15, 20 feet behind the where the throw was coming in. But then as the throw came in and the guy like makes the tag, he like runs towards third base to like back it up, which was kind of strange. So that when the Rays the I'm getting my teams mixed up. When the Jays tagged the Ray, he tagged him. He didn't even slide. So he got tagged out and he just goes a step or two past third base. But Cabrera, the pitcher, is just standing right there. He was between the third base coach and third base, backing up the play. So Caballero had nowhere to go. And so he bumped into Cabrera, and Cabrera took exception to that, even though he was literally like 3 feet past third base by the time the play was fully developed. It was just a strange, like you would never use that. Tom Mansky would never take that video and say, "Here's how you back up third base."
Yeah, no, not at all. And you were getting the two teams confused. I'm getting this play confused with the one we were just talking about with Chapman and San Diego. It was not a ball hit to right field. It was a
No,
throwing error by the third baseman who threw it down the right field line on a bunt. And tried to go to third base and got thrown out by a mile. And what Tyler was mentioning, how Cabrera was backing up and went right into him when he got to third. So weird situation, but no need to shove. There's other ways to do that. Um, and
unless
then
you're Jeff McNeil.
yeah, hit him. uh, Final thing here for me for the Downs, and I want to stay in Tampa Bay. The Rays unveiled a banner. They had this big dramatic thing where they just unveiled the American League wild card banner, and it just propped down and it said congratulations to the Rays, and like they played this dramatic music, and it's like, I get maybe there needs to be a banner for this, but actually screw that thought. I don't think there needs to be a banner for a wild card berth. That's ridiculous. It was too much, it was too dramatic, and it was stupid. So I'm against the Rays getting a reward for making the postseason last year with a wild card berth.
Yeah, I just think you don't need to get all dramatic and have like a whole ceremony for it. Maybe you spend, a minute before one of the opening series, you say, "Oh, fans, like take a look in right field. We're gonna, open the banner up or whatever." But yeah, I thought that was pretty strange, and it also made me think of, only a few teams have done this. When you win your league championship, you get a ring if you lose the World Series. Most players don't even ever wear that thing ever again because it's just a reminder that they didn't win the World Series.
Mm.
But there's only been a few times I can think of where teams have done a ring ceremony on the field for the a league championship ring, and the Diamondbacks did that this week, where they did like the whole. It looked like they won the World Series. Every player got called out, shake the owner's hand, get a big ass box with a blinged out ring in it. And I even, my buddy Hal, who we should have on, he's a Diamondbacks fan, and I messaged him and I was like, dude, what are the D-backs doing? Like, I love you. The D-backs are fun to watch, but what are we doing here? And he's like, no, I agree. It's a participation trophy. So, this was just kind of weird. Some of the, you should be happy, celebrate a little bit that you made the playoffs or went deep into the playoffs, but save the big celebrations for winning the prize at the end of the year, winning the World Series, because no one goes into a season saying our goal is to win a wild card this year. Our goal is to win the National League Championship. Every team's goal, whether it's realistic or not, is to win the World Series. So that should be the big celebration if you're going to have one.
Yeah, that's ridiculous too. There's one World Series winner. Everybody else, like, that's not considered a good thing if you don't win the World Series, right? Because obviously everybody's goal is to win the World Series. And especially if you lose, in the World Series, it's not something that is fun. And I think a lot of the players, I hope a lot of the players had that feeling where it's like, maybe Corbin Carroll was thinking, why are we doing this? But it's good to get recognized for basically winning the National League. That's a big accomplishment. But the World Series rings are for the World Series winners. Like, I'm not a fan of giving, maybe it's fine to give out a championship ring NL championship ring. But in a ceremony, again, we're going a little bit too
Yeah.
overboard. Because I saw highlights of that, but I did not see highlights of the Rangers ring championship ceremony, which,
I did see their ring. I didn't see their ceremony.
I did too.
I don't think they've been home yet, I think is the issue, Steven. They
Okay, that's
haven't been
right.
home yet. But yeah, their ring
I
is
think they
amazing.
were home. Yeah, because they opened up at home, I think, against the Cubs, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah,
But
I didn't see the ceremony. I saw the ring. It was a gorgeous ring. It just seems like every year the team has to one up the previous World Series winner with how crazy their rings are. But yeah. Should we take it to the ups?
let's do it. Take over.
All right, going to the three ups. I'm opening with, probably, the biggest non-free agent acquisition of the offseason was Juan Soto getting traded to the Yankees, and he went off in this first series. They swept the Astros in 4 games. He had a big outfield assist to save a lead in one of the games. Um, I had the stats. He hit like 600 in the series, like 570 maybe. And I think he just brings that energy, to a team. He's just fun to watch, full of energy, and he's making his case, opening up strong for potentially one of the biggest contracts in pro sports history after this season.
He's in such a perfect spot. Um, I know we talk about some guys maybe wanting to be Yankees at some point in their career. Um, and he is in such a perfect like location for him personally because he's a big guy who embraces the spotlight and he performs, when it matters the most. And I think he had a go-ahead home run, and our good pal Jason Aponte was just all over this series with Houston. And it was pretty funny to watch, but and it's still hard to believe that like he's been the same age for the last 10 years. He just doesn't
Yeah.
age. I think it was the name Childish Bambino or something, and I agree he's going to get paid significantly. Um, but just a good spot for him to be in. And I think there's no better fit this offseason than Juan Soto in a Yankee uniform. Just being what they needed in their lineup, being what they needed in their outfield. He checked all the boxes for going to the Bronx, and that's one of the reasons why he's my AL MVP pick. So I'm definitely looking forward to see more of him. And I know the big, landscape of baseball maybe doesn't want to see a Yankee succeed, but I don't have hard feelings against the Yankees like a lot of fans do. Just, when the Yankees are good,
Yeah.
I feel like baseball's good. And I am a fan of that. So I'm a fan of Juan Soto.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, his agent is Scott Boras. I don't think he'll have an issue getting a long-term deal like the other Boras clients this year, like we've talked about. He'll be 26 going into next season. Just an amazing force. So yeah, I think he'll get a long-term deal. He did reject, what was it, like a 15-year, $440 million extension offer from the Nationals before they traded him to San Diego.
Hmm.
So, I think if the Yankees can give him a strong enough offer that's in the ballpark of the other offers, I think he might, like to stay in the Bronx long term. So we'll see how it shakes out. But if he plays this year like he did this opening series, he'll be in a great position for himself. Number two on the ups, I'm going to go to the Oakland A's fans, making sure that there's more people in the parking lot than in the stadium at their opening series in Oakland this weekend. The Guardians came in and basically took them to town a few times. I think the A's won one of the games though.
They did.
But the boycotts in the parking lot, my buddy Clay from my old Bay baseball days was out there for opening day, sent me some videos. It was a great scene out there. And the first game, I think they claimed there was 13,000 people there. Our friend Taylor Worth was in the press box. I shot him a message, and he said he was like 8,000 maybe in the seats. Second game was like 3,100, 3,200 people paid attendance, and I think if you took a picture of the crowd, you could count them individually, and it maybe be like 500 people, and they were just partying in the parking lot. So I think they're doing a great job, kind of showing, rejecting the narrative that Oakland fans can't support a baseball team. They're showing up. They're just not giving their crappy owner the money.
This is going to be a long year for the Oakland
Oh
Athletics.
yeah,
Long year. I mean, this is happening the first week. They're in store for some ghost town shit. I mean, John Fisher deserves
yeah,
every single bit of it. Um, I mean, I mean, it was one of the pictures that I sent you was like first pitch, or I sent in the group chat that we're both in, and it was like the attendance was 3,000 that game. Like and you even said it. You're like, there's no more than what was it, 500 people there. Um,
yeah, yeah.
I
It was,
mean, yeah, and Saris, I think last season, like, went to a game and counted, and on his fingers, and like I don't know how many he counted, but when it's getting to the point where you could feel comfortable counting with your own fingers, like how many people are actually there, it's like, I mean, and I know they're working
yeah,
on right now a new lease at the Coliseum. We'll see what happens with the city of Oakland if they approve of that. I don't know what the process is exactly, but there's a 5-year deal that's been on the table. Um, but yeah, long year in Oakland. Kudos to the A's fans. Our good pal Hal was there too. Hot Dog
yeah,
Hal, friend of the show. So very cool stuff for the A's fans sticking up for what they believe in.
yeah. I need to look more into that story because I think I read, at least saw on Twitter that part of that lease proposal is also the chance for Oakland to potentially get an expansion team if they can kind of help the A's have a home until they can move to Vegas. So it'd be interesting if that shakes out. Does Oakland keep the name Athletics? Does Vegas, rename that, Fisher's franchise? Who knows? That's a long ways down. Hopefully, it can shake out to where there's still professional Major League Baseball in Oakland, though.
Yeah.
Um, and then last but not least on the ups, I'm gonna tip the Giants cap I've got on to Pablo Sandoval. He says he's not retiring. I think we've seen the last of him in a Giants uniform at least. The Giants kind of gave him the Sergio Romo treatment, let him come to spring training. He actually performed pretty well at times. And then in the game in Sacramento and each game of the Bay Bridge series, I think he knocked out a hit. But Pablo, he's a franchise legend. He had a tumultuous relationship at times when he left for Boston and said some things going out the door. But glad he was able to come back a couple times and kind of renew that relationship with the franchise and the fan base. Just a lovable guy, and yeah, hats off to Pablo.
One of the best, and he is grouped in the same kind of time frame as Lincecum, where it's like post Bonds trying to figure out what the direction of the franchise is, and he came up maybe a little bit after Lincecum, and just, you know, caught lightning in a bottle. But I'm fascinated with his tenure at the Giants because it was caught lightning in a bottle, changing positions, um, losing his position by being a little bit, overweight, right? And the Giants had tried to get him in shape. It seemed like every other year there was an attempt at getting this guy in shape, and I think soon enough they realized just this is who this guy is. He plays well bigger, and won 3 championships with this organization, and then went to Boston, had some parting words, and then I think the bigger thing than anything is he realized that he messed up, and he realized where home was. And there's a phrase out there where it's like someone always finds their way back home, and for Pablo, he did it not just once but twice. And he sought out Farhan Zaidi to come back this spring, and he said, "Hey, I'll take on a leadership position." He still wants to play. Just a guy that loves playing baseball. Hats off to him. Seems like the greatest teammate in the world, and I wish him the best of luck. I hope he stays with another organization and catches on somewhere, and I hope we see him in the big leagues soon.
Yeah, if he wants to keep playing, hopefully he can get that opportunity somewhere. But yeah, it was really cool to see him in the orange and black, not just in Arizona, and I got to see him in Sacramento. The Giants fans down in the Bay Area got to see him and, give him an ovation at Oracle again in uniform, which is cool. And within the next few years, he'll be out on the Walk of Fame, I'm sure. So.
Yep, he's the lock for
One
that.
of maybe what, like, I mean, I know they have criteria and he's already a lock for a number of the different criteria. But probably one of what, maybe 8 or 9 guys who were part of all 3 championships.
It's something like
You got
that. It's the four
you got
relievers.
4 relievers: Kane, Lincecum. Bumgarner,
Uh,
Pablo.
Pablo,
Are we missing? And
I think that,
Buster.
and Buster. So that's
9.
9. Yep.
Yeah.
Bochy,
One of the
coaches.
criteria is, yeah, and one of the criteria I think is if you were part of all three World Series teams, you're on the wall. I think a certain amount of tenure and making at least one All-Star team that gets him in. So, any way you cut it, he'll be on that wall
And he
in the
just had like
next few years.
moments. He just had like moments that just stick out that everybody remembers. Like one of the most underrated postseason memories that the Giants ever had in their championship run was when he hit the game tying double against,
Oh,
was it somebody in the championship series against the Phillies, hit a ball down the right field line that was foul, and then he hit another one that was fair, and it was a big hit for the Giants. um he had the 3 home runs that's iconic in game 1 of the 2012 World Series, where he won the MVP, and then he just had the iconic catch in the final game.
yeah,
And
caught the
he's
final
yeah,
out of 2014.
and he was on a lot of like the leaderboards for hits in a postseason. Him and Buster had like the record for teammates, I think. Um,
Hmm.
so he was just a part of just a lot of big moments, and he's gonna be remembered for that.
Yeah. Well, did we shut it down, Steven?
We shut it down. We not only shut it down, we shut it down with ease. This was a good episode, quality episode. Um, Hold on one sec. I was getting a call. Quality episode, but I'm glad that we were able to shut it down.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on the activity around baseball. We'll be back. We'll try for weekly.
Yep.
Steven's a busy college kid, but wrapping up that college career, big guy. But yeah, we'll try to get out here, close to weekly as possible. So catch us next week. We'll see what shakes down in Major League Baseball this week.
Let's do it. Twitter, go follow us at shutdown_inning. Go find all of our stuff wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff, YouTube, and yeah, see you soon.
That's what's up.
Bye.